The day had started like any other. The sun was just peeking over the rooftops, casting a warm, golden glow over the quiet neighborhood. Birds chirped softly in the background, and there was that usual sense of calm that made mornings feel gentle and unhurried. But for the homeowner, it was anything but calm. As they walked toward the familiar path leading to the property they had lived in and cared for over the years, something felt wrong. There was a sign, freshly posted, blocking access in a way that had never been there before. The letters were bold, the message clear, and the tone was dismissive. The HOA had decided, without warning, to block access to a section of the property that had always been theirs. It was a simple section, a small road that led to a storage area, and a part of the land they used for personal projects. But it had sentimental value. More importantly, it was theirs by right. The shock was immediate. The homeowner stood frozen for a moment, staring at the bright sign, reading and rereading the words as if they might magically change. They didn't. The instructions were clear, almost mocking. Access forbidden. This was not just a restriction. It was a declaration of power. It was a way of saying, without directly saying it, that the HOA controlled everything, and their rights did not matter. For years, the homeowner had played by the rules, followed every regulation, and paid dues promptly. They had always believed that fairness and reason would win if there was ever a disagreement. But now, facing this sudden blockade, all those beliefs seemed naive. How could a group of people, many of whom didn't even know the land personally, decide to cut off access to someone who had lived there responsibly and respectfully for years? The frustration started to build like a storm cloud gathering strength. Neighbors began to notice. A few had walked by, curious about the new sign. Some offered sympathetic looks. Others whispered words of concern. "This is ridiculous," one neighbor murmured, shaking their head. Another added quietly, "You shouldn't let them push you around." The homeowner appreciated the support, but felt a mix of anger and helplessness. What could they do when an entire association seemed determined to enforce rules that were unfair and illogical? The first instinct was to call the HOA office directly. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe someone had misunderstood something. The phone rang and rang, finally answered by a calm yet overly formal voice. When the situation was explained, the response was polite but firm. The decision was final. The section of the property was off limits, and no exceptions would be made. Questions about why it had been blocked, why no notice had been given, or how this decision aligned with prior agreements were met with scripted answers that offered no clarity. It became evident that the HOA was not interested in dialogue. They were interested in control. After hanging up, the homeowner sat on the edge of the blocked path, letting the cool morning air brush against their face. They felt a mixture of emotions: anger, disbelief, and a rising determination. They remembered the long evenings spent working on that section of the property, fixing things, planting flowers, and creating a small sanctuary that belonged to them. Memories of quiet mornings, weekend projects, and moments of personal triumph flooded back. This was more than just a blocked path. It was a challenge to their identity, their rights, and the life they had built. The frustrations slowly transformed into a plan of sorts. The homeowner had always been practical, the kind of person who solved problems by thinking carefully and acting strategically. They knew that reacting impulsively would only make the situation worse. Yet the unfairness of the HOA's actions fueled a desire to stand up, to find a way to assert their rights without breaking any rules or resorting to conflict that could spiral out of control. As they walked back to their house to gather notes, photos, and any documents related to property boundaries and prior communications with the HOA, a sense of purpose began to replace the initial shock. They realized that the path forward required patience, research, and creativity. Legal rights were one thing, but having a tangible, undeniable solution could make the difference between a drawn-out conflict and a clear resolution. The homeowner started listing ideas, no matter how unconventional, jotting down every thought that came to mind. Each note added a spark of hope, a step toward reclaiming what was theirs. Neighbors continued to offer support. Some shared stories of their own minor disputes with the HOA, nodding in understanding as they recounted frustrating encounters. Others offered practical advice. Document everything. One said, take pictures, keep emails, make sure there's a paper trail. The homeowner appreciated the solidarity, feeling less isolated. It was comforting to know that others had faced similar challenges. Even if none had experienced quite the same level of obstruction. Days passed, and each day brought new attempts to communicate with the HOA. Letters were sent. Emails were drafted, and polite phone calls were made. Each attempt was met with the same dismissive response. The decision was final. The restriction would remain. While others might have given up, the homeowner's determination grew stronger. They were not the kind to back down when right and reason were on their side. Each rejection only fueled their creativity, pushing them to consider solutions that were both legal and impossible to ignore. One afternoon, while walking along the blocked path, the homeowner paused to consider the problem from all angles. They examined the signage, the physical barriers, and the layout of the land. Every detail mattered. They thought about visibility, accessibility, and the impact of any changes they might make. The challenge was not just to regain access, but to make a statement that could not be dismissed or ignored. It had to be something tangible, undeniable, and respectful of the law. In those quiet moments of reflection, homeowner also thought about the broader implications of what was happening. This was more than just a personal inconvenience. It was a reminder of how systems and authorities could sometimes act unfairly, even in places that were supposed to be organized and fair. It was a lesson in vigilance, in standing up for oneself, and in the power of thoughtful action. The frustration remained, but it had taken on a new dimension, a fuel for problem solving, and a motivation to create a solution that would be lasting and effective. By the end of the week, the homeowner had gathered all the necessary information, mapped out potential strategies, and even reached out to a few trusted contacts who had experience with property disputes. Each conversation added insight, each piece of advice shaped the plan, and each reflection strengthened their resolve. The blocked path was no longer just a symbol of unfairness. It had become a catalyst for action. Late one evening, after documenting the area and reviewing all the legal documents, the homeowner sat back in their chair, a sense of clarity washing over them. The path forward was not going to be easy, and there would likely be resistance, but they were ready. The experience had transformed them from someone feeling helpless to someone prepared, strategic, and determined. They understood that the challenge would test their patience, creativity, and resilience, but they also knew that standing up for their rights was worth every effort. In those quiet moments, the homeowner allowed themselves a small smile. The morning's shock had faded into purpose. The blocked path, once a symbol of frustration and powerlessness, had now become the focus of a determined plan. Every detail, every memory, and every conversation had prepared them for the next step. The journey ahead would require courage, strategy, and ingenuity. But for the first time since the sign appeared, they felt a sense of control returning. The homeowner looked out over the familiar landscape, imagining a future where the path would once again be open, not just physically, but symbolically. It would be a testament to persistence, careful planning, and standing up for what was right. And in that quiet, reflective moment, they knew that the story was only just beginning, that the blocked path was not the end, but the starting point of a journey toward justice and reclaiming what was rightfully theirs. The homeowner felt a renewed determination, ready to face the challenges ahead with patience, strategy, and an unshakable belief in their own rights. After the initial shock of discovering the blocked path, the homeowner spent days thinking through every detail. They sat at the kitchen table with notebooks, maps, and photos, examining the property carefully. Each corner, every measurement, and the placement of existing fences and trees mattered. They needed a plan that would not only restore access but also make a clear statement that the HOA could not ignore. The idea of building a gate began to take shape, but it had to be more than just functional. It had to represent their rights and determination. The homeowner knew they had to approach the problem methodically. Acting impulsively could have caused legal trouble or created more friction with the HOA. So, they started with research. They reviewed property documents, zoning laws, and HOA regulations. Every piece of information was carefully studied to ensure that whatever they did would be completely legal. They wanted a solution that left no room for dispute, something undeniable and fair. Neighbors played an important role during this planning stage. A few had noticed the ongoing frustration and offered their advice. One suggested speaking to someone who had experience with property disputes, while another recommended consulting a contractor for advice on construction and materials. The homeowner appreciated the input, but realized that ultimately the responsibility rested on them. They had to make decisions, plan carefully, and ensure the end result would achieve their goal. With the research complete, the homeowner began sketching designs. Each sketch was carefully considered, with attention to visibility, durability, and functionality. They wanted the gate to be strong and reliable, but also symbolic of their rightful presence. It had to convey a message without being confrontational. The homeowner considered materials that were sturdy yet visually appealing, something that would blend with the property while making a clear statement. Every evening, after work, the homeowner dedicated time to refining the plan. They measured distances, checked the slope of the ground, and considered how the gate would be installed. Each decision was deliberate. For example, the height of the gate was chosen not only for security but also for visibility. The colors and style were selected to match the property's aesthetic, while still standing out enough to signal ownership. It was a careful balance between practicality and symbolism while planning. The homeowner also thought about the logistics of construction. They listed the materials they would need, from wood and metal to locks and hinges. They researched suppliers and compared costs, making sure to stay within a reasonable budget. The homeowner also considered whether to hire help or involve friends. They wanted the construction to be efficient, but also wanted to maintain control over the project, ensuring that every detail matched their vision in parallel with physical planning. The homeowner developed a strategy for unveiling the gate. They knew that simply building it would not be enough. The HOA had already shown that they could ignore requests and enforce restrictions arbitrarily. The reveal had to be planned to ensure maximum impact without breaking any laws. The homeowner imagined different scenarios, considering how the HOA might respond and how to stay calm and legal while asserting their rights. During this stage, the homeowner's determination grew stronger. Each day, they walked past the blocked path, imagining how it would look once the gate was installed. They envisioned the satisfaction of reclaiming access and sending a clear, non-confrontational message. The frustration of being blocked slowly transformed into motivation. Instead of feeling powerless, they felt a sense of control and purpose. The planning process became an act of empowerment. Friends and neighbors continued to provide moral support. Some offered to lend tools, while others gave practical advice on construction techniques. The homeowner welcomed the help, but kept the ultimate vision clear in their mind. They did not want to compromise on the plan's integrity or effectiveness. Every piece of input was considered carefully, but the decisions always reflected the homeowner's careful thinking and commitment to doing what was right. As the days turned into weeks, the homeowner refined the plan further. They created a detailed timeline for construction, noting each step from foundation work to final touches. They anticipated potential obstacles, such as weather delays or logistical challenges, and planned contingencies for each. This level of preparation made the homeowner feel confident that the gate could be built efficiently, safely, and according to their vision. The homeowner also documented the planning process meticulously. They took photographs, wrote notes, and kept records of all communications with neighbors and advisors. This documentation served two purposes. It helped them track progress and also provided a paper trail in case the HOA tried to challenge their actions. Every measurement, sketch, and plan became part of a comprehensive record, demonstrating careful thought and legality. During this period, the homeowner also thought deeply about the personal significance of the project. The blocked path had been a source of stress and frustration, but it had also sparked creativity and determination. The gate was not just a physical structure. It represented standing up for oneself, asserting rights, and reclaiming control over a situation that had seemed unfair and arbitrary. Each detail of the plan was infused with this meaning. As construction day approached, the homeowner felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The planning phase had been long and meticulous, but now it was time to translate ideas into reality. They had ensured that every aspect of the plan was legally compliant, practical, and visually effective. The stage was set for a project that would not only restore access, but also make an undeniable statement about rights, persistence, and careful preparation. In those final days of planning, the homeowner revisited every detail, imagining how the gate would look and function once completed. They walked along the path, visualizing the final product, considering angles, sight lines, and overall impact. Each step reinforced their confidence that the project would succeed. The homeowner was no longer reacting to the HOA's obstruction. They were proactively creating a solution that would achieve their goals while maintaining integrity and legality. By the end of this stage, the homeowner felt a renewed sense of purpose. The blocked path had been transformed from a symbol of frustration into a challenge that could be met with strategy, creativity, and determination. Every sketch, measurement, and plan was a step closer to reclaiming what was rightfully theirs. The homeowner knew that challenges might arise during construction, but they were prepared to face them with patience and resilience. The plan was complete, the vision clear, and the determination stronger than ever. The homeowner took one last walk. Along the blocked path before gathering the materials, they looked at the area with fresh eyes, seeing not just the barrier imposed by the HOA, but the potential for transformation. The gate would not be just a physical structure. It would be a statement of rights, preparation, and persistence. With that thought in mind, they felt ready to move forward, confident that careful planning, attention to detail, and unwavering determination would lead to a successful outcome. The stage was set, the plan was ready, and the homeowner was prepared to turn strategy into action. Reclaiming access and creating a gate that no one could ignore, construction day arrived with a sense of anticipation that was almost tangible. The homeowner woke up early, energized by weeks of planning and preparation. They had gathered all the materials, from sturdy wooden planks and metal hinges to locks and paint. The sun was just rising, painting the neighborhood in soft shades of orange and gold, and there was a quiet determination in the air. Today, the blocked path would start to transform. Today, action would replace planning. The first step was clearing the area. Over the years, small plants and debris had accumulated along the path. The homeowner spent the morning removing weeds, leveling the ground, and preparing a solid foundation for the gate. Neighbors, curious and supportive, occasionally stopped by to offer tools, advice, or simply words of encouragement. One handed over a level, another suggested a small adjustment to the hinge placement, and another offered to help with painting later. The homeowner appreciated every gesture but kept a careful focus on the plan. Each step had to be precise, both for practical reasons and to ensure the gate would be effective and long-lasting. Once the ground was prepared, the homeowner began assembling the gate structure. They carefully measured and cut the wooden planks, checking and double-checking each dimension. The metal hinges were attached with precision, ensuring stability and smooth movement. It was painstaking work, but it was satisfying in a way that no frustration or obstacle could diminish. The homeowner could see the structure beginning to take shape, turning from sketches and ideas into a physical reality as the day progressed. The homeowner thought about the message the gate would send. It was not meant to provoke anger or create conflict. Instead, it would communicate something simple and undeniable. This path belonged to them. It was a careful balance of assertion and respect. The homeowner wanted the HOA to recognize the rights of a responsible property owner without escalating tensions unnecessarily. This mindset guided every choice, from the design to the materials and even the placement. The physical construction continued with the help of neighbors who had volunteered. Some held planks in place while the homeowner secured them. Others assisted with lifting heavier components, ensuring safety and efficiency. Laughter and conversation mingled with the sound of hammering and drilling. There was a shared sense of purpose, feeling that this was more than just building a gate. It was standing up for fairness and ownership, Every detail mattered. The homeowner adjusted the alignment several times, making sure the gate swung smoothly without dragging on the ground. They checked the lock mechanism, ensuring it was secure yet accessible. The paint was chosen for both durability and aesthetics, complementing the surrounding landscape while making the gate visually striking. Each small adjustment added to the overall impact and effectiveness of the project. By mid-afternoon, the gate was taking its final shape, and the homeowner felt a sense of accomplishment growing with every completed step. As the structure neared completion, the homeowner began thinking about the final presentation. The reveal had to be impactful, demonstrating the regained access without aggression or confrontation. The neighbors who had been watching offered suggestions, some practical, some creative. One proposed taking photos before and after installation. Another suggested making sure the path leading to the gate was clear and inviting. The homeowner absorbed the advice, integrating what made sense while keeping the core plan intact. The last touches involved checking for any weak points and adding finishing details. The hinges were lubricated for smooth operation. The lock was tested multiple times. The gate was painted with a fresh, clean coat. Every element was designed to be both functional and visually commanding. The homeowner stepped back several times, examining the gate from different angles, imagining how it would look when the HOA finally saw it. There was pride in seeing the weeks of planning and effort manifest into something tangible, something that would restore not just access, but a sense of justice throughout the day. The homeowner reflected on the journey so far, from the initial shock of the blocked path to the meticulous planning and now the physical construction. Each stage had been a lesson in patience, strategy, and resilience. They thought about the unfairness of the situation, the frustration of feeling powerless, and the determination that had grown stronger with every obstacle. The gate was more than wood, metal, and paint. It was a symbol of standing up for oneself, of turning frustration into action. By evening, the gate was fully assembled. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the newly cleared path. The homeowner took a final walk along the area, testing the swing, checking the lock, and visualizing the next steps. Everything was ready. The blocked path had been transformed into a clear, undeniable statement of ownership and determination. There was a quiet satisfaction in knowing that the project had been completed legally, carefully, and effectively. The homeowner felt a sense of control returning, a sense of empowerment that had been missing when the HOA first posted the notice. Neighbors who had helped gathered for a brief moment, admiring the work. There was a shared sense of achievement and relief. Some expressed curiosity about how the HOA would respond. Others simply offered congratulations. The homeowner thanked everyone, appreciating their support, but knowing that the true test was yet to come. The gate was complete, but the reaction from the HOA would determine the next chapter of the story. The homeowner felt ready to face whatever came, confident that careful planning and thoughtful action had prepared them for success. That night, the homeowner documented the construction process, taking photos and notes. Each detail of the build was recorded, not out of fear, but as a way to maintain transparency and readiness. Should the HOA attempt to challenge the gate, there would be clear evidence of legality, effort, and adherence to rules. This meticulous approach reinforced the homeowner's confidence, ensuring that the next step, the reveal, would be supported by a strong foundation of preparation. The homeowner also took time to reflect on the broader meaning of the project. The blocked path had initially felt like an arbitrary and frustrating obstacle, but through planning, preparation, and construction, it had become an opportunity to demonstrate persistence, creativity, and strategic thinking. The gate represented more than access. It symbolized taking control of a situation, asserting rights responsibly, and transforming frustration into action. This understanding brought a sense of satisfaction and calm after weeks of tension. Before going to bed, the homeowner walked one last time along the path. The gate stood tall, secure, and visually commanding. It was a reminder of the journey of every careful decision, every consultation, and every moment of determination. The path was ready to be reclaimed, not just physically, but symbolically. The homeowner felt a renewed sense of purpose and anticipation. Tomorrow would be the day to reveal the gate, to let the work speak for itself, and to show that persistence, planning, and careful action could overcome unfair obstacles. The morning of the reveal began quietly, with the homeowner rising early, full of anticipation. The night before, they had reviewed every detail one last time, checking the gate, the path, and even the surrounding area. The sun was just beginning to rise, and the soft light highlighted the newly built structure. It stood strong and unmissable, a clear mark of determination and rights reclaimed. There was a sense of calm confidence, tempered with excitement, as the homeowner prepared for the moment when the HOA would finally see the results. Neighbors who had supported the project were aware that today would be significant. Some had gathered nearby, discreetly watching, curious to see how the HOA would react. There was a quiet buzz of anticipation in the air. Everyone understood that the reveal was not just about a gate. It was about standing up for fairness, demonstrating persistence, and showing that careful planning and action could overcome obstruction. The homeowner felt a mixture of pride and nervousness, aware that the gate's unveiling would mark a turning point. The first step was ensuring that the path leading to the gate was clear and presentable. Over the past weeks, the homeowner had kept it tidy, but now every detail mattered. Loose debris was removed, the ground smoothed, and the surroundings checked for visual impact. The gate needed to be not just functional, but a visual statement. It had to clearly demonstrate rightful access, and the homeowner wanted it to be undeniable, impossible for the HOA to dismiss or ignore. As the morning progressed, the homeowner stepped back and looked at the gate from different angles. The wood had been polished and painted carefully, the hinges were secure, and the lock was functional. The design was both strong and visually appealing, signaling ownership and careful thought. Every line, every color, and every detail was deliberate, crafted to communicate without words. The homeowner felt satisfaction in seeing the weeks of planning and construction come together into something tangible and powerful. The homeowner's mind reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. The initial shock of the blocked path had sparked frustration, but that frustration had been transformed into strategy and action. Every sketch, every measurement, and every moment of consultation had contributed to the current state of readiness. The gate was more than just a barrier. It was a testament to persistence, patience, and intelligent problem-solving. It symbolized standing up for oneself without creating unnecessary conflict. Soon, the HOA representatives arrived, likely expecting nothing more than compliance or quiet resignation. Instead, they were met with a gate that was impossible to ignore. The homeowner stood to the side, calm and composed, ready to explain the structure if questioned, but confident that the work spoke for itself. The reaction from the HOA was immediate. Faces registered surprise, confusion, and a hint of frustration. The structure was undeniable, clearly marking the property and access in a way that left no room for substitutable misinterpretation. The neighbors who had been watching discreetly from a distance began to murmur softly, impressed by the homeowner's planning and execution. It was not just a gate. It was a symbol of effective action and standing up to unfair treatment. The homeowner felt a quiet pride, knowing that every careful decision, every night spent researching and sketching, had culminated in this moment. The effort had been worth it, not only for the physical restoration of access, but also for the statement it represented. The HOA representatives attempted to respond, their voices formal but tinged with unease. They asked questions about permits, legality, and adherence to regulations. The homeowner remained calm, providing copies of documents, notes, and photos that clearly demonstrated every step had been taken legally and responsibly. There was no confrontation, only clear communication and undeniable proof that the gate was within rights. The HOA had no choice but to acknowledge the situation. As the conversation continued, it became clear that the HOA had underestimated the homeowner's determination and preparation. The gate was not just a physical barrier. It was a manifestation of strategy, patience, and careful action. The homeowner had anticipated questions, prepared answers, and created a structure that communicated authority and legality without aggression. The HOA's usual tactics of intimidation and dismissal were ineffective against such a thoughtful approach. The homeowner took a moment to reflect on the impact. Beyond restoring access, the gate had changed the dynamic. It demonstrated that persistence, careful planning, strategic thinking could overcome obstacles, even when faced with authority figures who seemed unyielding. The neighbors, witnessing the interaction, were inspired. The homeowner had turned frustration into a constructive, effective action that not only addressed the immediate problem, but also sent a broader message about standing up for one's rights thoughtfully and respectfully throughout the day. The homeowner tested the gate multiple times, ensuring smooth operation and secure locking. They walked along the path, imagining how each visitor, neighbor, or HOA member would perceive the structure. Every detail was intentional, contributing to the overall impression of legitimacy, strength, and careful planning. It was a visual and functional testament to patience and determination. By afternoon, word had spread through the neighborhood. Conversations reflected admiration and respect for the homeowner's approach. The gate was not just restoring access, it was becoming a symbol of fairness and persistence. People spoke about the importance of standing up for oneself, of planning carefully, and of turning obstacles into opportunities. The homeowner listened quietly, feeling a sense of fulfillment. The impact extended beyond their personal victory. It was influencing the community's perception of rights, fairness, and perseverance. As the day progressed, HOA representatives retreated, their initial surprise replaced by cautious acknowledgement. They realized that their previous attempts to control access could not overpower someone who had prepared meticulously, acted legally, and maintained calm authority. The gate was effective, undeniable, and legally compliant. It was a clear demonstration that fairness, patience, and determination could prevail over arbitrary restrictions. In the evening, after the HOA had left, the homeowner took another walk along the path. The sun was setting, casting long, warm shadows over the gate. It stood as a symbol of resilience and persistence, a tangible representation of overcoming unfair obstacles. The homeowner felt a sense of closure for this phase of the conflict, knowing that the action taken was both effective and responsible. The gate was more than just wood and metal. It was a monument to careful planning, perseverance, standing up for what was right. Neighbors came by to admire the work and offer congratulations. They spoke about the importance of strategy, preparation, and calm determination. The homeowner appreciated the support, but also reflected privately on the personal growth achieved through the process. The blocked path had been transformed from a source of frustration into a meaningful challenge that had strengthened resolve, creativity, and confidence. Each moment of planning, consultation, and construction had contributed to a successful outcome. Before going to bed, the homeowner documented the reveal. Photos were taken, notes were written, and the gate was inspected one final time. Every detail of the day, from sunrise to sunset, was carefully recorded. This was not out of fear, but as a measure of preparedness and reflection. Should any questions arise in the future, there was clear documentation of effort, legality, and thoughtful action. The homeowner felt ready for any follow-up, confident in the thoroughness and integrity of the work. The evening brought a sense of calm and satisfaction. The homeowner sat quietly, reflecting on the journey from shock and frustration to planning, action, and successful execution. The gate had restored not only physical access, but also a sense of control and empowerment. It was a reminder that persistence, preparation, and strategic thinking could overcome even seemingly insurmountable obstacles. The homeowner felt proud, not just of the gate itself, but of the careful, responsible way it had been achieved. It was a victory built on thoughtfulness, patience, and integrity. And it marked the beginning of a new chapter where rights were respected and unfair. Barriers could be challenged successfully. The days following the gate reveal brought a sense of calm and accomplishment for the homeowner. The initial tension from the HOA's unexpected reaction had slowly faded, replaced by a quiet satisfaction. The path that had been blocked for weeks was now open, secure, and clearly marked as the homeowner's rightful access. Each time they walked along it, they felt a sense of empowerment, a reminder of the careful planning, patience, and persistence that had led to this moment. Neighbors continued to visit, offering words of praise and admiration. They spoke about the importance of standing up for oneself and how the homeowner had handled the situation with intelligence and composure. There were shared stories of minor disputes in the neighborhood, and the homeowner listened, realizing that their experience could serve as an example of effective, non-confrontational problem-solving. The gate had become more than a structure. It had become a symbol of fairness, determination, and thoughtful action. The homeowner reflected on how far they had come since the first, shocking day when the path was blocked. Back then, they had felt powerless, frustrated, and unsure of what steps to take. But through careful research, planning, and the support of neighbors, they had transformed those feelings into decisive action. Every measurement, every sketch, every conversation, and every step in construction had contributed to the success of the project. The journey had been as meaningful as the result. During this period, the HOA made attempts to communicate, but it was clear that their tactics were no longer effective. The homeowner responded politely and professionally, presenting documentation of the gate's legality, construction process, and adherence to regulations. The HOA's resistance gradually diminished. They could not argue against clear evidence, careful planning, and a project that was both functional and respectful of the law. The homeowner's approach had neutralized their usual methods of control. With the path restored, the homeowner began to think about the broader lessons of the experience. They realized that frustration, when channeled wisely, could lead to positive outcomes. The blocked path had initially felt like a challenge, but it became an opportunity to develop problem-solving skills, patience, and resilience. They had learned the value of strategic thinking, preparation, and staying calm under pressure. Each phase of the journey, from shock to planning, construction, and reveal, had been a lesson in turning adversity into accomplishment. The gate also had a symbolic effect on the neighborhood. People who had witnessed the project, or heard about it, began to see the importance of standing up for rights thoughtfully and responsibly. The homeowner's success inspired others to consider careful planning and legal understanding when faced with obstacles. It was a subtle but meaningful shift in how the community approached disputes and challenges. The homeowner felt proud, not only of reclaiming their path, but also of contributing to a culture of fairness and responsibility. Practical benefits were immediately apparent as well. The gate restored access to storage areas, personal projects, parts of the property that had been neglected during the period of restriction. The homeowner could now resume routine activities without interference. Tasks that had been delayed or complicated by the blocked path were now manageable, and the sense of normalcy returned. The combination of practical improvement and symbolic victory reinforced the overall satisfaction of the project. Throughout the following weeks, the homeowner maintained the gate, checking its functionality and ensuring it remained in excellent condition. This ongoing attention reflected not only pride in the work, but also the responsibility that came with asserting one's rights. It was not enough to build the gate. It had to be maintained, demonstrating care and respect for the property. This approach strengthened the homeowner's credibility and further diminished the HOA's ability to challenge the outcome. The homeowner also reflected on personal growth. The initial situation had tested patience, creativity, and resilience. Each phase, from research to planning, construction, and reveal, had required problem-solving and strategic thinking. The homeowner had learned to anticipate challenges, consider multiple perspectives, and act decisively while remaining calm and respectful. These lessons extended beyond the property dispute, influencing how the homeowner approached other aspects of life. From work to personal projects, community interactions had also deepened. Neighbors who had offered support now became more engaged, sharing experiences and insights. The homeowner felt a stronger sense of connection and mutual respect within the neighborhood. The situation, while initially divisive, had created opportunities for collaboration, advice, and shared learning. The gate, once a point of contention, had become a focal point for understanding and community growth. As time passed, the HOA gradually shifted their approach. They no longer attempted to enforce restrictions in areas where the homeowner had demonstrated clear legal rights. The homeowner's strategic, lawful, and non-confrontational methods had set a precedent, now showing that careful preparation and calm determination could overcome arbitrary authority. The blocked path was no longer a source of stress or tension. It was a reminder of the importance of standing up thoughtfully and persistently. The homeowner often walked the path in quiet reflection, appreciating not only the physical improvement, but also the personal and communal growth that had resulted. They considered how the project had transformed frustration into accomplishment, stress into clarity, and obstruction into empowerment. The experience had been a test of resilience, patience, and creativity, and passing it had brought a profound sense of achievement. In those moments of reflection, the homeowner also thought about future challenges. They felt confident that the lessons learned from this experience would guide them in other areas of life. Planning, research, careful action, and maintaining calm authority were tools that could be applied broadly. The gate had been a microcosm of these principles, showing that thoughtful, deliberate action could succeed where reactive or emotional responses might fail. The homeowner's satisfaction extended to the symbolic meaning of the gate. It represented a balance of rights and responsibility, assertiveness and respect, action and patience. It was a tangible reminder that standing up for oneself could be done thoughtfully and effectively. The journey from blocked path to reclaimed access had been long and challenging, but it had resulted in a solution that was lasting, legal, and impactful. As the seasons changed, the gate remained a fixture of the property, standing as a testament to persistence and strategic action. It continued to function perfectly, a practical solution to a previous problem, and a symbol of the homeowner's ability to handle challenges with intelligence and composure. The homeowner took satisfaction in knowing that the project had lasting effects, both practical and symbolic, reinforcing confidence in their rights and abilities. Ultimately, the blocked path, once a source of frustration, became a story of empowerment and success. The homeowner's careful planning, creative problem-solving, and strategic execution had overcome arbitrary obstruction. The journey reinforced lessons of patience, resilience, and thoughtful action. The path was reclaimed, the community had learned from the experience, and the homeowner had achieved not only practical results, but also personal growth. It was a reminder that even in the face of unfair challenges, preparation, persistence, and calm determination could lead to lasting, meaningful victories.